The biggest prison isn't made of steel. It's made of people's opinions. A young man once asked an old hustler, "How do you know who's real?" The old man smiled and pointed toward the busiest street in the city. "Watch." Morning came. A man in a suit walked by. Everyone called him successful. An hour later, he was fired. The same people who praised him yesterday suddenly acted like they never believed in him. Then a woman drove past in a luxury car. People whispered, "She must have money." Nobody knew she hadn't smiled in months. A kid wearing worn-out shoes crossed the street. They laughed at him. 10 years later, he came back owning half the buildings on that same block. The old man looked at the young man and said, "See the pattern. They don't judge truth. They judge appearances." He continued, "Most people don't think for themselves. They borrow opinions from the loudest voice in the room. One person says you're a genius. Suddenly everyone agrees. One mistake later, the same crowd calls you a failure. Not because you changed, because crowds move like the wind." The young man frowned. "So how do I win?" The old man stared into the distance. "You stop performing. You stop trying to convince people who already decided who they think you are." He picked up a chess piece from the table. "Life isn't checkers. It's chess. In checkers, everyone moves the same. In chess, every piece has a purpose. The king moves slowly. The queen moves freely. The knight doesn't travel in straight lines. If you judge every piece by the same rules, you'll never understand the game. People will call your silence weakness, but silence lets you hear conversations they think you're missing. They'll mistake your patience for fear, but patience is where strategy is born. They'll celebrate while you're building. Then they'll wonder where you came from." The young man asked one last question. "What if they hate me?" The old man laughed. "If nobody doubts you, you're probably following the crowd. History remembers the people who walked alone before others followed." The sun began to set. The street was still full of people chasing approval, still wearing masks, still pretending, still trying to fit into lives they secretly wanted to escape. The old man stood and walked away. Before disappearing into the crowd, he turned around one last time. "Never let strangers write the story of your life. They only see the chapter you let them watch. But you're the author. So write something they'll never forget. Because in the end, people will always have something to say. The question isn't whether they'll talk. The question is whether you'll keep walking anyway."